Are you just starting your wood turning journey? Maybe you're a turner looking to brush up on your skills. Today we will explore our basic shapes, beads and coves. So let's get started.
Welcome to Turning Stitches, I'm Sean. We help wood turners learn the craft to begin making fun projects faster. Let's have some fun with the sharp tools we made in Lesson 2. If you missed Lesson 2, you can find it right up here. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll easily be able to follow along with this series of lessons. With our sharp tools, now let's have some fun and learn how to cut beads and coves. So let's get started.
So we're back at the lathe, and we've got the cylinder from Lesson 1 mounted back between centers. If you need to cut some more 2x4s, go ahead and do that now and make several of them so you'll be able to practice. So the first step we're going to do here today is just make a few measurement marks all along the piece, and we're going to just space these out at about an inch apart. Turn this and go ahead and link those, get our lines extended all the way around. As we start turning today, we're going to be using our spindle gouge, which is right here, pictured here. And I'm going to be running the lathe at about 1500 RPM. I would suggest somewhere between 1000 and 1500, but adjust that according to your comfort level. So to start out with, what we're going to do is put a cove in every other one of these marks. So here's how we'll do that. So we're just going to start with the spindle gouge. We've got the tip. We're not cutting anything yet. We're just going to gently get it in there. We're going to lift up the handle till we start picking up a shaving. And we're just going to open up. We're just going to kind of roll the spindle gouge open. We're going to work down into the bottom of the cove from one side to the other. So we'll come over here to move to the right. We want to work this in halves. So we're just going to start over here on the edge, gradually lift the handle until we get down here in the bottom. We don't want to cut uphill. So what I don't want to do is try to enter the cut over here and exit on this side. You'll get a catch as you start going up. So we're just going to work along. Each of these until we've got them all done. Initially, I'm not cutting that deep, and then we can go deeper as we go. So when we've got all of our coves done, here's what we've got. And now we're going to roll beads into these coves. So we're just going to round off these edges just to make a slight bead out of these where our flat spots are right now. We'll start down here on the end. I'm starting with my flute open, and I'm just going to lift the handle, pick up a shaving, and roll it over. Just working off that edge. Come back to the center and work the other way. Now these are so long it doesn't look like much of a bead at this point. That's okay. It's the motion that we're looking for here. Work from the center. Just roll it over. Work from the center, and roll it over.
If you're getting value out of the video so far, hit that like button. Let's challenge ourselves a little bit here now that we've got our beads and coves. So let's try to narrow this gap in between each of the beads, basically kind of eliminating the cove.
So basically all I want to do is pick up this edge and just bring it down in here tight. I'm going to keep working, same thing, back and forth. We're just going to work down that diameter until the cove kind of disappears. Now these beads are so far apart, that cove's going to still be there unless we go almost all the way down to the bottom. But these are just good additional skills to practice. So we just want to pick up the edge. Got to clear some of that waste out of there. Start down the thing, pick up that edge, and just roll tightly until we're almost 90 degrees. We're almost 90 degrees up when we finish that cut. Only the point down inside there. So that one's pretty tight. Okay, so let's keep challenging ourselves a little bit. So I put another clean cylinder in, and I've made a few marks. So down here on this end, I've got about an inch from the end, another inch, a half inch, and a half inch. And what we're going to try to do now is take and make beads in each of these locations. And this is going to give us a little more of a challenge because we're going to put them tighter together. So let's tackle that. Now, I'm adding a tool to the mix to do this, and that is a skew chisel. So basically what I'm going to do is start with a V cut on each of those lines, and then we'll roll our beads. If you don't have a skew chisel, you can do the same thing with a parting tool. You can kind of come in here with a parting cut. You may need to widen your lines out a little bit for the practice, but you can use a parting tool to do this as well if you don't have a skew chisel. You can see down here we're kind of out of alignment, but all we're going to do is take our skew chisel and we're just going to go to our pencil line, and then we're going to make a V cut. So I go straight in on the line, and then I rotate the tool and slice in from one side, then the other side, and I want that bevel to kind of guide it in. Okay, now I've got a V-notch in there. We're going to continue to do this on each of these locations. All right, now that we've got our V-notches, we're going to go back to the spindle gouge. And you can see in this case, this is really out of balance a little bit. So it's going to be a little more challenging as we start out with here. We're just going to round that off just like we did on the last one. We're just going to round over the end, starting at the middle, going around. And then we're going to come back and finish right up inside that V-notch. I'm going to go ahead and shake that off since it was running so out of round. I'll kind of do it again. Slightly smaller diameter. Rotate right down in. Alright, not too bad. Trying to fix the shape. It's a bad idea. Totally messed it up. Alright. So now we're going to go over here to the other one and do the same thing. So as I'm turning the bead, as I'm going down into that V-notch, I'm lifting the bottom of the handle up. So I'm getting my cut started, and then I'm going right down on that point. Come back. These are a little tighter. This is the challenge part, right? Right down in there. Now, depending on how we do this, we can make this very round. Or you can make it more like a cone shape. Last, let's put some of these shapes together and see what we can come up with. So what we've got here, I just marked a line on my cylinder. So I just marked a line, and then over from that line, I marked another line at 1/4 of an inch, then a 1/2 inch, and then 2 inches. So let's combine this shape and see what we can come up with. We're going to start with a parting tool. We're just going to part in here on this end. Basically, I just want to go in Alright, so I just want to part this down a little ways, get down to about 1 inch in diameter. Make that a little smaller. Alright, that should do it. Let's come down here and do the same thing. Now here I'm going to eyeball, try to make that about the same diameter. What we're going to do here is we're going to turn a bead here, and then we're going to round off this edge, and we're going to create a cove down under this where we did our parting tool cut. So this is just going to be a really simple rollover. So I'm going to roll a very simple bead here. We've got plenty of space, so we really don't have to worry about how tight we're getting there. If that feels better, I'll leave that alone. And come up here about a 1/2 inch or so. And just kind of roll into that void. We're down into the bottom of that cut. Now we're just going to take a cove from here. We're going to cut underneath, cut a little bit underneath that parting cut, making kind of a fillet. So as I'm getting close to that diameter down here, that's what happens. You can always mess up. Just going to establish that line with my skew chisel. Now we'll just cut under that with the back with the spindle gouge. There we go. Just get that smoothed out. So that just gives us a different shape. Now it's time to practice, practice, practice. Clear off these beads and coves and try again. We're going to put our skills to the test from lesson 1, 2, and 3 by making a mallet for your shop in our next lesson. But in the meantime, I have some homework for you. You want to create a turning blank that's roughly 4 inches square and about 12 to 14 inches long. You can use something that's 3 inches square, and at least 10 inches long would work as well. And I would recommend a hardwood, oak, ash, maple, something nice and hard like that for a mallet. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll see when that next lesson comes out, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next lesson.